Hi, I'm Trevor.
And I'm Kyle. And today, this is a little bit different format. I don't want to say we're going to go head to head, but I've been meaning to do an episode about the Marvel movies in general, but mostly we're going to focus on the MCU specifically, and Trevor will explain exactly what that means. But originally, I wanted to just do an episode on why I think Deadpool 2 is the greatest movie in the MCU, and Trevor's like, Kyle, actually, he's not a part of the MCU, so we're like, okay, fuck it, let's just talk about all the Marvel comics. Let's just all the comic book movies, all the Marvel stuff, but we'll mostly be focusing on the MCU.
Yeah, last night I had to throw my finger up and go, You didn't say the magic word. Because, just to explain to anyone out there who might not know, MCU refers to Marvel Cinematic Universe. Currently, that means pretty much anything that's Disney-owned. I mean, Disney owns all of Marvel now, but back in 2008, when the MCU got started with the first Iron Man film, that was kind of the start of this project moving forward, where we're going to create several individual film franchises and then merge them down the line. So what Kyle means by other Marvel movies is there was a division of the Marvel trademark properties. Sony owning Spider-Man, and 20th Century Fox owning X-Men and pretty much the rights to the word mutant.
That's crazy.
And any closely related characters. They also own the Fantastic Four, but nobody gives a shit
Nobody
about that, so.
cares about the Fantastic Four.
Nobody does.
Those movies suck.
I'm a big comic fan, or at least I was, and damn, I just could not get invested in the Fanforstic. But yeah, now that Fox has been purchased by Marvel, the thing we're expecting to see down the road is a merging of these properties. We're probably more than likely going to see a Wolverine and an X-Men in the MCU proper at some point. Obviously, these things, in the corporate world, it takes several years to get this all rolling. It doesn't happen overnight. Although, that Spider-Man appearing in Civil War to begin with, Captain America Civil War, that was an instance of Sony deciding to play ball with Disney/Marvel. They basically loaned the character out. They haven't actually returned the rights to Marvel just yet. And what's kind of funny now is there was this period of time where a lot of dorks out there on the internet were really excited to see Spider-Man returned to the MCU proper, so that the Disney folks could, spin their magic and make the best use of the character. Because the Amazing Spider-Man movies were an indication that maybe not the best people were handling the character at the time. But unfortunately, Venom, a movie that Kyle and I reviewed not too long ago, and that Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse film, which is apparently amazing, apparently those made all the money. So now Sony has their death grip tightened even further on Spider-Man. So I'm sure we'll continue to see Spider-Man in the MCU, as evidenced by that Far From Home movie that we got a teaser trailer for. Well, damn, that wasn't even a teaser. That was a full fucking trailer. That was like a couple weeks ago. But as of yet, Sony has yet to cede control of Spider-Man to the Marvel folks. So anyway, that was a big nerdy spiel, Kyle. How about you jump in on the conversation?
I was going to say at the top here before we get into this, if you haven't listened to our podcast before, go and check out some of our older episodes. This is a completely biased podcast. We are going from our point of view on what we like, and that's pretty much how this is going to go. My knowledge of comic books is very low, so if I say something wrong, I don't care if you correct me. You as a listener, it doesn't really bother me. I'm not into the MCU, which is kind of why I wanted to have this discussion too, because Trevor's more into Marvel, and I'm actually more of a Batman guy. I love Batman. He's DC, of course. So we might get into some not an argument in this one, but there's going to be some back and forth. But I wanted to just mention Batman briefly. one of the reasons why I'm not crazy about Marvel is all the characters aren't on the same level. To say, Batman, everybody is mortal, everybody's human, arguably.
Yeah, there are some exceptions in his gallery of rogues, but carry on.
Yeah, I mean, Mr. Freeze is,
Well, Ra's al Ghul in the comics is essentially immortal, whereas in the Nolan films, he's revealed to be Liam Neeson.
But
who basically may as well be immortal, given how many people he's punching in his 50s. But whatever.
Well, that's what I like about Batman is that, like Tim Burton movies, he's kind of grounded in reality. You have some misfits, more or less, but you're able to ground Batman into reality, as we've seen with the Christopher Nolan movies. It's like, yeah, we can kind of ground this in reality. Whereas the MCU, you can't. Like, at least with the Marvel characters, some of them, like what's his face? I can't stand with the bow and arrow.
Oh, Hawkeye.
Hawkeye, yeah. He has no special power. Oh, he's in that new one too. That new event. Did you watch the new Avengers trailer?
Yeah.
He's in there. I'm like, really?
All the neckbeards out there are like, oh my god, he's in Ronin form.
Oh gosh.
He had a period in the 2000s where he assumed a new identity, that of Ronin, and he had a sword because swords are cool.
When these Marvel movies started coming out, we're gonna be mostly talking about the ones Iron Man and up. Essentially, we're not really going back to the old Spider-Man or the old.
Yeah, we're talking MCU proper.
Yeah.
The Spider-Man films were kind of like one of the major catalysts to get us to where we're at, but I think those were still owned by Sony. Like, I think since then that's been the Sony property.
See, ever
since Marvel went bankrupt and had to sell all the rights to all the characters.
See, I liked that first Spider-Man movie. The second one, I don't remember it very well, but I've heard that that's the best one. And then once the third one came out and I saw that, I was like, I don't give a fuck about these movies. So when they started doing Iron Man, Captain America, Hulk, Thor, and all these were coming out, I'm like, I do not care. But as they've progressed, I like them a bit more now. Like, I'm starting to enjoy these movies a bit more.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that, because they ain't going anywhere.
Oh, they're not going anywhere.
But it's funny you mentioned the power level issue, that you have some problems with that.
Yeah.
And you feel more comfortable with Batman, because I'm actually very much the same way. I prefer what they tend to call street level superheroes. So when those Netflix shows started coming out, my ears kind of perked up, because most of those characters aren't characters that are terribly important to me. I really do like Daredevil. Like, I've read a lot of Daredevil comics, but Cage and Iron Fist and Jessica Jones, not so much.
Yeah.
Actually, Moon Knight is one of my favorite characters in the Marvel comics, or at least he was until I stopped reading a few years ago. But I that tends to be more in my wheelhouse. Like, the characters who have basically human capabilities and human level threats. The MCU stuff, part of the problem of having a cinematic universe is that, just like in the comic books, you often encounter situations where you have a character like Hawkeye level capable.
Yeah.
And then he's in a situation where he's in over his head, and it's really tense. But then the little voice in the back of your head is saying, why isn't he just called Thor?
Seriously.
Because every single time that'll happen, because that's the idea, is that they're a team, they're supposed to be able to lean on each other, and they've actually done a very good job in the MCU films to counter that by having characters be indisposed in some fashion. Avengers Age of Ultron was actually pretty fucking hilarious, where right before the climax of the film, Thor just kind of leaves. He's just like, oh my god, I took the bad acid. I gotta go. like he has a fever dream and he has to go. And it's just a very lazy scripting element where it's just like, shit, we gotta get Thor off the table.
Was that the James Spader, where James Spader's doing the voice?
That was the James Spader one.
I remember that being an X-Men movie for some reason. I'm getting it confused with another movie, I think.
It kind of feels like an X-Men movie,
doesn't
actually.
it?
It's kind of hokey.
Yeah.
I mean, it's from a screenwriting standpoint, it's one of the weaker films. It's a bit of a mess. It does have some, cheap thrills in it, but it often gets criticized as being one of those bridge films where it's like, this is not a full story. Mm-hmm. This is a bridge to another one. So it feels flimsy, I guess, just colorful, loud, and flimsy.
So you want to jump into what movies we do like in the MCU, and we can also talk about which ones we do like in just Marvel in general. And we can even talk about which movies we think from the Marvel.
There are no rules. It's
there are no rules.
So yeah, Kyle, what would be one that you would put near the top of your list?
Well, I'd say that if we're going MCU strictly, I'm going to say Guardians of the Galaxy 2 is my favorite. Thor Ragnarok and Black Panther are just neck and neck for second.
Okay.
I just recently watched Thor Ragnarok, Black Panther. I rewatched Guardians of the Galaxy, the first one, not too long ago, because I hadn't seen it in a really long time. Yeah, I've been told for a long time, especially by you, that Thor Ragnarok was really good, and I could not care less about Thor. But then I saw him in in the event, I think it was in the first Avengers movie, and that was like my first time actually seeing him on screen, and like he was actually really funny, and I'm like, okay, maybe there is something here. And that Thor Ragnarok was really, really good.
Yeah, that's Chris Hemsworth's secret weapon. Is not only is he absurdly good looking, he's also quite funny.
He is very charismatic.
And it's kind of amazing that it took until like a few years after that first Thor movie that like people started to realize that. It's like, holy shit, he's really funny.
Yeah.
We should let him do that. And now he does a lot of comedic films.
He's fucking hilarious in that vacation movie, the Ed Helms vacation movie. He steals it. He steals it. Like he's the best part.
I'll have to take your word for that, because I'm sorry, Kyle. I don't think I can toss an hour and a half of that film.
I had some good chuckles out of it, but he was the best part.
I don't doubt that. I'm sure bloated Chevy Chase is just embarrassing.
Yeah, he is. But yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy 2, I think a lot of people like Guardians of the Galaxy, both of those movies. And I would think you would like it more because it has Batista as a character.
Yeah, it does have a good dose of Batista, and I do like that. I do like the animal of Batista. In fact, I put one of his movies on the list of to watch, like, of potential episodes. It's a film called by the name of Bushwick. I actually had a couple of my other friends watch it a few years ago as just a fun excuse to do something like what we're doing right now. Very cool movie, and he's very much the star of it for the most part. Guardians of the Galaxy 2 it's funny because the themes are very heavy, very powerful stuff that it really does resonate with me. Like, not me personally, I guess, but like, I know what they're trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
And the father-son stuff in there is very heavy and actually pretty well executed, but for the most part I feel like the themes are maybe more powerful than the actual execution.
Okay.
I loves me some Kurt Russell. I'm not sure about that climax. It felt a little overblown, a little on the stupid side. Where Chris Pratt goes Super Saiyan and starts punching his dad. It's like, okay. But from like a audio-visual standpoint, it's a gorgeous film. A lot of the design elements in there are incredible. Like Kurt Russell's planet.
Yeah,
like
Ego.
All the different nooks and crannies in there, and it's all very intricately detailed. I appreciate that. And that closing line, I had a pretty cool dad.
Yeah.
I mean, damn,
It got
That's beautiful.
It got me.
Yeah, it got me.
It got me.
I mean, my dad's still around, and that got me.
Well, it was just the funeral, like the funeral scene. It was really powerful. I thought it was a really good addition to that movie. It was really good.
And the connection between him and Yondu, like that was a interesting relationship that we saw grow over 2 films, and I'm actually very proud of them for being willing to close the door on that.
I really liked Lee Pace in the first one. I liked that villain. I'm sorry, he was definitely like Shakespearean scary.
Oh, he is the ultimate straight man.
He was,
in a very silly film.
It's and that ending where he just starts singing and dancing. It's like, what are you doing? It's pretty funny.
No, my one problem with him, and it's small, is that, I mean, like I said, he's the straight man in a very goofy film. It's kind of a thankless role because of that. It's very flat for the most part. Part of the problem with the character is that in the comics he has a long backstory that has virtually nothing to do with anything that happens in the film, and it's like, oh, couldn't you pick someone else or something? I have a feeling, I'm going to call it right now, actually. I have a feeling that they're going to revisit him in that Captain Marvel film.
Oh, we'll get to that.
Because he's from the same planet/race that Captain Marvel's associated with, and if I'm correct, Captain Marvel takes place in the past, in like the 90s.
I could see that.
So he would still be alive, and he'd still be active, and he wouldn't, I'm guessing he wouldn't be that crazy renegade that he was in the first Guardians of the Galaxy film, because it does seem to be, I can't recall if it was actually explicitly stated, but it seems like he's splintered off from whatever empire he belongs to, the Kree. Funny, that's not the first time they've done that. Very conveniently, the Nazis in Captain America: The First Avenger are not Nazis. We don't use the word Nazi around here. They are Hydra agents.
Sure.
We don't have that rotating, spindly symbol with the red, white, and black. No, Hydra.
Quick question. Where is Hellboy? Is he Marvel? Is he a comic? What is he?
He is Dark Horse.
Dark Horse.
I believe they're based in Portland, or at least Oregon.
Okay. I was just throwing off there.
We got a new Hellboy on the way. That first trailer did not exactly knock my socks off.
We should talk about at least Blade 2 at some point.
You and I both mutually have a lot of appreciation for the Blade films, at least the first 2.
Well, think about, I didn't think about this, and I kind of want to talk about it now. We need to talk about some of the movies that you like in the MCU, but just real quick segue. Guillermo, he's directed 2 comic book movies that I'm aware of. Hellboy 1 and 2, two different characters. He's done Blade 2, and then he did the first 2 Hellboy movies. I love all 3 of those movies. Can we get Guillermo to direct some kind of Marvel movie?
I mean, I'm sure the Marvel people would love to have that, although there is a bit of a tinfoil hat thing about that. Where, the theory for a long time now has been that Kevin Feige is he's the executive producer behind the MCU films. He's known to be like the mastermind behind making sure the themes and the content of all these films sync up well. It's led to a thing where my friends and I call Marvel movies Marvel good, where oftentimes you'll leave the theater and you're like, oh, that was pretty good, and it's like it starts to sink in a little later where it's like, that had some issues, but then like it's 3-4 months later and it's like, oh, there's another one in theater, and then you just throw those negative thoughts out the window because it's good enough in the moment, but it's not exactly a work of art. It's just good enough to tide you over to the next one. But the theory with the Marvel movies is that a lot of the directors that have been assigned to these films, the Russo brothers in particular, a lot of them have like a background in television, and part of being a television director is being able to play in other people's sandboxes, being able to jump onto a property, not take 100% full ownership of it, just like rent it for a while, and hand it off to the next guy cleanly. That's a very important thing for a television director to be able to do. In fact, I've read that directing TV, a lot of times what happens is the lead actors involved in the projects end up partially directing because the level of ownership that they take of the characters exceeds that of the director, because the director just shows up, for an episode at a time, whereas the actors are there every single day. So like things like script writing and the way scenes are put together, sometimes they get dictated by the actors because they end up whispering in the director's ear and tell them, hey, this doesn't exactly make sense for my character that I've been building for the past 8 years.
Yeah.
And so the theory with the directors for the MCU films is that we're not looking for auteurs. We're not looking for guys who are trying to reinvent the wheel. We're looking for people who can keep the story running.
Gotcha.
Because, the funny thing about the Marvel Good expression is that if you look at their release schedule, it makes sense. Because if you make a movie that's too good, then you're setting a standard for the next one to live up to. So if you keep it just like at 80 instead of knocking it up to 100, you're keeping the audience consistently satisfied without like killing yourself trying to make the best fucking movie ever.
Well, the other thing with Guillermo is that I think he puts a lot of himself into the character designs.
That's what I was trying to get at, is that Guillermo is an auteur.
Yeah.
Like I know a lot of people don't subscribe to the theory of, auteur filmmakers, but his movies are Guillermo
movies, yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Like you see him in his products, and I think it would maybe clash with their style if you had, a decade of flatly color graded, like lazily scored Marvel films, and then all of a sudden this dark cinematic operatic Guillermo film. Well. It's set during the Spanish Revolution for some reason.
So why are we literally that would be the joke in there is RDJ would be like, why are we in Spain? This doesn't make any sense. Jarvis, why are we in Spain?
Yeah. Oh my god, that'd be pretty great though.
So what's go ahead.
But every comic book universe out there has different dark corners. Oftentimes the expression is like family. Like there's the Bat family and the Flash family and the Superman family. So these are all like characters and story elements that are traditionally thought of as belonging to these core characters. So for instance, like Punisher. Punisher exists in the Marvel Universe. However, the characters that he clashes with, like the world that he lives in, very rarely touches the other elements of the Marvel Universe. And in both Marvel and DC, there exists like supernatural characters that are very, very, very seldom featured in those stories, like in the grand story arcs and stuff. But there are characters that occupy those worlds. Like, for instance, Marvel has something called the Man Thing. It's not Swamp Thing, it's Man Thing. He's this big swamp beast that like touches people and sets them on fire, and he had his own comic at one point.
Jeez.
And then we have characters like Doctor Strange, who probably is not very many people's favorite character, but he lives in that supernatural realm where you can get into the weird magical shit, and you can hand wave all of that away with it's weird magical shit.
See, I could
see Guillermo working on one of those niche films that doesn't directly touch the other ones too much.
I haven't seen Doctor Strange. Only Doctor Strange that I've seen is in that Infinity War. And okay. I do want to go back and watch Doctor Strange now because of that.
He was very good in Infinity War.
Oh yeah,
his interplay with Tony Stark, with Robert Downey Jr. was inspired.
He can just play off anybody, though.
That's part of the beauty of having a cinematic universe, is that, again, like I said, the actors can start to dictate things because they've inhabited these roles long enough that they can get inside of the head of these characters. So part of the scripting process involved just like throwing two characters into a room and then having the actors conference on how would this play out. How would a prima donna doctor from New York and a billionaire weapon designer from New York, who's also a prima donna, how would these two egos clash? And we got a pretty good representation of that in that first Infinity War film.
I kind of want to get Deadpool going off of Iron Man, like, just because Deadpool is such I want to say wiry, like he's
wiry.
He's just wiry, like he seems like you should be able to keep him under control, but he keeps fidgeting, like, God damn it, I can't, like, oh, he's so frustrating. Yeah, I was just watching him. I like I said, I mentioned before we started, I rewatched both the Deadpool movies last night in preparation for this, because originally what I wanted to do was make a case for saying that Deadpool was my favorite Marvel movie, MCU movie, but it's actually probably my favorite Marvel movie. So let's get into what your favorite Marvel MCU movies are.
All right. Well, we can rotate back around to your Guardians, because I would like to hear a little bit more about like things that you liked about it and just thoughts you had on it. But one of my favorites is one that I don't know that you've seen. It's Captain America: Winter Soldier.
I have not seen Winter Soldier. I've seen a little bit of the first one. I saw Civil War. I don't remember Civil War. I just got really boring to me. I don't like Captain America. I don't like the character. I don't dislike the actor, Chris Evans. I don't dislike him, but yeah. I dislike him in that role. That's just me personally.
Okay, yeah, it's funny because, like, having grown up reading comics and stuff, nobody likes Captain America.
I can't stand him.
Most people I know can't stand Captain America. I have maybe one friend who has any appreciation for him, and a big reason why that friend likes Captain America is that he liked the idea of a supposed hero carrying a shield as their primary symbol / weapon. Mm-hmm. Because he's a dad, he's largely a pacifist type person. Like, that was an idea that resonated with him. He found that to be admirable, and I do too. And I happen to really like Captain America as a character, so it's always been very difficult for me whenever I've been around dorks talking about comics. Everybody's always shitting on Captain America, and I'm like, I like him. But I think Chris Evans really nailed the sincerity of the character.
And that's what I don't like about the character.
I know that's what you don't like about the character, but that's what I like.
Yeah,
is that he's the one guy in the room who's not necessarily always right, but is always going to try his best to be honest, and I don't know, he just has that air of confidence about him where
holier than thou.
A little bit.
That's what bugs me about him.
He's a little bit of a tool. I can concede that.
Yeah.
But that's the point. You need that guy. Like, let me put it to you this way. Let me tell you something, brother. Right. Yeah. Leonardo on the Ninja Turtles is no one's favorite Ninja Turtle. Maybe there's a kid out there who likes him most because he has Thorth, and Thorth are cool. There's always a dork out there who likes swords. It's science, Kyle.
Yeah.
If you're playing a video game and there are characters without swords and a character with a sword, the nerd is always going to pick the guy with the sword.
Of course.
It's science.
Yeah. Or the one he's red, isn't he? He's the red.
No, he's blue.
Oh, okay.
God. No, Leonardo is the blue one with the swords. He is no one's favorite Ninja Turtle, except, like I said, maybe a few dorks out there who like Thorth. Leonardo leads. Donatello does machines. Raphael is rude but crude.
Yes.
And Michelangelo is a party dude. Party.
Spicoli.
So what the point? Yeah, he's Spicoli.
He's Spicoli.
Right here, dude.
Yeah.
The point I'm trying to make here is that Leonardo is the leader.
Yeah.
That's his defining characteristic. He is the leader. Any good storytelling involving Ninja Turtles, and holy shit, I just used the phrase "good storytelling" in reference to the Ninja Turtles. Any good storytelling involving Leonardo has to touch on that. Has to touch on his position as the leader, his overblown sense of responsibility, his belief that that's his role, that's who he has to be. It leads to inner conflict and stuff, and you get that with Captain America too.
Well, yeah, because he's going up against Tony Stark, who is insanely intelligent, and that's, I think, where the frustration gets, is like, Captain America's like, no, we just got to do the right thing, and Tony Stark's like, just, no, that's stupid, we shouldn't be doing that. And that's why it's frustrating. That's why he's frustrating as a character, is because he's not as smart. He's just more confident.
He's not as smart, but he is actually very smart. And they actually
I'm
do
not
a
saying
pretty
he's
good
stupid.
job of showing that.
Yeah.
No, they do a pretty good job of demonstrating that in the first Avenger, the first Captain America film, and the Avengers, the up till that point second Captain America film. Well, Captain America 1.5. In that first Avenger movie, they have a couple of scenes where they show him. They demonstrate the fact that this is a person who grew up being physically incapable of much. So we learn that he's a very good artist, because what do you do in the 30s and 40s when you're not physically capable?
Yeah, you draw.
If you're stuck inside all day, you read and you draw. And then what I did like what they did with him in that first Avengers film is that he is shit on so badly in that first Avengers film.
Yeah.
For like 2/3 of the film, he just cannot catch a break. He is the odd man out in that he's from a different time period. His capabilities, like when we see him spring into action, the first thing he does is he throws a shield that bounces off of Thor and Iron Man, does nothing to harm them, it just bounces off, and then Thor hits him with his hammer and he blocks it and doesn't die, thank God. That's his first action scene in the film. But no, prior to that though, we get to see him throw some punches at Loki ineffectually. So until the last third of the film, he's just shit on left and right. And then, though, when all hell breaks loose, when war comes to New York, he springs into action, and he's the guy that knows what to do. And it's like, we found his place. It's like he may not be the funnest guy to have a conversation with.
No.
In that he hasn't seen Friends, and he doesn't get the reference when you say pivot. But in a combat situation, he knows how to direct traffic and he knows how to fight. And I thought that was interesting that they saved that for towards the end of the film, and it ended up working, because I could have seen him walking out of that film looking like the weakest element of the cast, where it's like, shit.
Well, they do a good job of keeping him away from the movie in Infinity War, because they just send him off with Black Widow.
Oh my God, yeah, he's just like a non-element.
Yeah, I'm glad they did that, because I'm like, I don't want to see what he's like. When we were rewatching it,
I don't care what Cap's up to.
Like, seriously, we were rewatching it. I'm like, I'm glad that they're like, he's such like, those two characters are such afterthoughts. Like, nobody really cares about those two, Black Widow or Captain America. So like, you know what? Just have them do their own adventure and then meet up with Black Panther. That's the best that we can do. Well,
I told you before we went on the air that I listened to the director's commentary for Infinity War, and it's directed by Joe and Anthony Russo, who of course did Winter Soldier. Mm-hmm. That was their first film with MCU, and then Civil War, and then Infinity War. So what they said on the commentary was that Captain America in the, I guess, earlier versions of the script was not supposed to appear until Thanos was on Earth.
Oh, really?
Until Vision was in danger in Wakanda. So that would be like the last 15 minutes of the movie.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, in the earliest version of the script, that was where he was supposed to show up, and apparently the directors were on board with that, because in their mind they wanted to like hold his reveal as long as possible, but then they got a veto from on high saying you gotta put Cap in there at some point. Jesus.
No.
So instead we get him showing up at the train station when Vision and Scarlet Witch are getting beat on. And it's a decent reveal. Beard Cap works for me, although I don't know, I feel like there's a beard variant of every hero nowadays.
Yeah, right.
Like it's required. I think it's mostly for the female audience to like keep them engaged. Where it's like, oh, he has a beard now.
Yeah, you perk up when you see Chris Hemsworth's haircut in Thor Ragnarok. Like, oh, we got a haircut, huh? Okay. I think I've figured out a little bit more why I like Guardians of the Galaxy, and
yeah,
I think it has to do with what the characters are doing outside of Avengers. I like space movies. There's something about being on a spaceship that seems cozy, doing those kinds of jobs. I'm actually reading The Expanse right now, which the main character is that. Like, they are more or less, you could say, mercenaries that are out doing jobs for money. And that's kind of what the Guardians of the Galaxy are doing, which is why I'm more drawn to their thread. It just seems like more fun for me. Like, Thor is like mystical, like up in the clouds, heaven kind of deal. Tony Stark is present day rich dude, which I'm like, just kind of jealous. I don't really want to dive into his life. Like, it just his house looks awesome. I don't want to see that. Yeah, and I think that's what that draws me to the Guardians of the Galaxy, and they're all funny. Like, it's just, there's not like comic relief in that movie. In those movies, you get a serious relief. It's like the movies are funny, and then occasionally you're gonna get some serious moments.
Yeah, I see what you mean. I mean, they are mercenaries in that it seems like they aren't heroes in the traditional sense unless they have to be.
Yeah.
Or they have a day job essentially. Like Thor, just by virtue of being, is always going to be a hero, I guess. And same with Tony Stark. It's like his responsibilities are to keep Stark Industries and the Avengers operational.
Yeah.
So from day to day, he's busy. And also, ever since that first Avengers movie, he also has, like, PTSD.
Yeah.
And is dealing with it by being over-prepared for everything. And it's kind of pissing off the wife. A little bit. But one slight objection I have, and it's not in the moment, it's more just in retrospect. Because in the moment, it's very enjoyable. But looking back on the Guardians of the Galaxy films and pretty much every Marvel movie after that, there's a Marvel rhythm to dialogue that gets a little obnoxious at times, and it feels almost tailor-made for trailers or something.
Yeah.
Where it's like funny, heavy. Funny, heavy. Where it's like everyone in the cast is clever to a certain extent, and then all of a sudden things get heavy out of nowhere, and it's like, oh shit. I mean, I guess it's a rhythm that actually reflects real life to some extent, because oftentimes bad things do come out of nowhere unexpectedly. But when you're watching the film, it's quite enjoyable. But when you look back on it, it's like, oh, that was kind of weird.
Well, if you think about the different characters, like Gamora, she's had a heavy upbringing. She's been right underneath Thanos the whole time, and she's got some issues. And then you have I can't think of his name. What's Batista's character's name?
Drax.
His character altogether is just a different. I just think of him as like a Viking. Like, he's just dumb as a box of shit, crazy strong, and he's got his own anger issues.
Yeah.
And Quill is just a dipshit. Like, he's just kind of a dipshit.
He's a man-child.
He's just a dude following his dick. And then Rocket, on the other hand, is just money. He just wants money. So you have all these people have all these things pulling at them from different ways. And then Groot's he's just Groot. He's just loyal.
I forget if it was the first Guardians or the second one. I can't recall which one it was, but the thesis behind all the characters is that they're all broken.
Yeah.
Is that they're all damaged goods in some way, and they all found each other, and they all lean on each other for support, and it creates a beautiful, like, family dynamic. And even like the very first shot of in the very first shots that they're in that Infinity War movie are them like singing together, driving around in was it the Milano? As
I
in
think.
Alyssa Milano?
I think so, yeah.
And then they have a seat for Groot, who's now in his teenage form.
Yeah.
And he's playing like the equivalent of his like Tiger Electronics game. And you get the sense that it's like they're a family unit. And in fact, like the first shot of the Guardians of the Galaxy 2, like the opening scene when they're fighting the big Lovecraftian monster.
Yeah.
We keep cutting back and forth between them fighting the monster and trying to take care of baby Groot. So it's like they're all surrogate parents to this little tree man.
Yeah.
And yeah, the family is like the core theme of that particular group of characters. And I really enjoy that. And they have good interplay. But I gotta ask you, like, Gamora, I was very happy with the arc they went with her character.
Yes.
By the time we get to Infinity War, I felt like that was wrapped up in a neat little bow. But what's always been funny to me is that her character's radically different in the comics.
Oh, really?
Yeah, radically different. So the first time I saw her in that first Guardians movie, it was kind of like, what? Because yeah, like her whole connection with Thanos is definitely that's a huge element in the comics, but her personality is very different. Because in the comics, she's supposed to be kind of like Devil May Care, very cavalier, very loose.
Okay.
She gets around, but she just kind of has that like fuck it kind of mentality. Whereas in the movie, she's an ice queen, like she's like a cold-blooded assassin type person that doesn't let people get close. And it was just very strange that they spun that way. But I get it from a character dynamic perspective.
You can't have everybody say we can't
have everyone be funny because she would just be. Although that'd be pretty fucking hilarious if in like a future film or something. Well, no, that would be really disrespectful actually. If Peter Quill met his female equivalent.
That would be funny.
The exact same person, just a woman.
Well, you can't have Rocket, who's just money motivated, Quill, who's dick and money motivated, and you've got Drax, who's just bloodthirsty, like he just wants to kill Thanos. Like that's all he gives a shit about, really.
Oh yeah, he sees red when he sees Thanos, but in between that, he's a very cool dude. I swear.
Yeah, you can't have.
Just don't get him drunk. Just for the love of God.
You can't have that dynamic without somebody trying to keep okay, children, we have to stay focused here.
Yeah.
Also,
there needs to be a mom in the room.
Considering the age range that these movies are going after, it's probably not wise to have a quote-unquote loose character for a female. Well, I got into...
Like I said, I get it, I respect it, I enjoy it. It's just an observation. But Quill, a lot of people really hated him after Infinity War. Because of certain things that he did.
He's the reason why we have a second movie. Seriously, like he's the reason.
Yeah.
But I think it was a good move. I think it was a good move. That's rewatching the Infinity War. I'm like, you know what? That was smart. Like, not. I like, how are you going to make more money off of a second movie? Like, you have to be able to make more money.
Well, and it had to be him too.
Yeah.
Like it had. If somebody was going to blow it, it had to be him. Well, I mean, they did it as well as you could do it. That line, "Did we just lose?" is pretty fucking beautiful.
Well, you can see how quickly because he's still a child basically. He's only
that's what I like about the character is that he is a man-child.
Yeah.
And when you think about the history of the character, it makes fucking sense.
Yeah.
He was abducted as a child, ran away from his dying mother, so he's forever running away from something, and may as well be adulthood.
Another thing I appreciate about those movies, especially the first one, is the use of music. Now, I think when you think about it, you're like, oh, it's just kind of cheap. They're taking these good. What was that? "Come and Get Your Love," that song, where he's like dancing. Like, oh, you're just dusting off one of these classic Motown tracks and like getting people into the older music again. But it actually has significance to the movie. It's the cassette that his mom gave him. That's the last thing he had before his mom died. He never saw his mom again. And I think it's useful in the movie. I actually like it, and it's a good way.
My example of licensed music ruining a film.
Suicide Squad.
Actually the most prominent example that comes to my mind is what is it? Is it Macy Gray?
I know who Macy Gray is.
Yeah. She was in the first Spider-Man movie just because they have a festival and she's just singing.
Oh, you're right. Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
she's in the film.
Yeah, she was big at the time.
There was that, and then Daredevil right around the same time.
Oh, God.
Like a year later, where there's a lot of licensed music just sprinkled throughout. The Evanescence song being like the most prominent example, but like even when we're first introduced to Michael Clark Duncan's Kingpin, we get this like this hip hop track that just starts playing over a helicopter shot of his skyscraper. And there is a time and a place for licensed music in your film, and that is not it.
Well, we were also that first Spider-Man movie. Remember that they had that dude from Saliva and the dude from Nickelback do that song together. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah, the Hero or whatever.
We were still doing songs for movies at that point.
Well, you need to remember Sony is a record label, and it was also before the superhero movies were viable at that point. Like Blade did make a shit ton of money, but that could have been an isolated incident. It got Spider-Man greenlit, but it's still not a proven path to success just yet. So licensing music and stuff is in some ways a good way to create synergy and ensure that your product will make some money back.
Yeah.
So I get it, but at the same time, things like Marvel Cinematic Universe movies, it's a universe. It's not my world. It's like their New York is not my New York.
Yeah.
So hearing my music in their universe feels somehow cheap, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So part of my brain always like sets off an alarm when that happens in these fantastical films and stuff. But like you said in Guardians of the Galaxy, if you can tie it into the plot and the characterization, I can forgive that. And they did it very successfully.
Very well.
Very well. In fact, that reveal of him opening the second cassette at the end of the movie was, it hit me. It's like, fuck you, Guardians, you got me twice. 2 movies and you got me twice.
Actually, I just realized something. I think I figured out another reason why I'm not crazy about the Captain America movies. Is that they're too serious.
Too serious?
It's just too serious.
You have seen 1.5 Captain America movies. How
exactly.
Can you tell me that?
That's why I lose it. It's because I'm like, this is not.
How can you tell me they're too serious?
It's too serious.
You've only seen 1.5 out of 3 of them.
It's too serious. That's why I lose it. That's why I can't get through them. I'm just like, this isn't fun. This isn't fun for me. This is a fucking comic book character. Make this fun.
Okay, well, that first one is essentially the Rocketeer, just with Captain America instead of Bill Campbell as the Rocketeer. Winter Soldier, and I will concede it is a more serious film than the other ones we've been talking about. That's actually what I like about it.
I gotcha.
I like that for the most part it's focused.
Okay.
And that's something that I feel is oftentimes lacking in a lot of especially the later MCU films, because again, double-edged sword of having a cinematic universe is that one, the good edge of it, the edge facing outward, is you have access to characters and locations across many other franchises. The back edge of it, the one that's facing you, is that you have access to those characters and locations, and sometimes it leads to things becoming cluttered. Where it's like, sometimes I just want a Captain America story. Or sometimes I just want to see the Punisher and I don't want to hear people talking about fucking Hawkeye and Hulk and Thor. So just shut the fuck up and let him shoot people. With Winter Soldier, it's mostly a Captain America story. It's a small story until the end when we get the goddamn comic book movie ending where there's usually there's a blue laser coming out of the sky or something.
Yeah.
Where it's like, we go from having an intimate, focused story to all of a sudden, oh my god, all hell is breaking loose and we need to save all of New York or the entire planet or whatever. It's like, can't we just end things with a fist fight? Why do things have to explode? And that's kind of what happens in Winter Soldier, and it is a little obnoxious where it's like, okay, this got too big too fast. But up until then, like the first 3/4 of the film, it's like, okay, he's running around, he's driving, he's punching people. I can get behind this. But then when we start having flying aircraft carriers and explosions over DC, and by the way, no innocent bystanders are killed, not one. Then things get a little stupid, but that's a sin committed by virtually every comic book movie, where the endings are always overblown. Civil War countered that a little bit, but instead it had the big stupid moment at the midway point instead of at the end.
I think
there's always a big stupid moment.
I think we've pinpointed why we defer. Is I want a comic book movie to be entertaining, and I'm okay with it being silly. You, on the other hand, are like, you know what? I would appreciate a good, like a good movie, a good story.
I like action movies.
Yeah, that's true.
Like I'm not so much drawn to the comic booky, gee whiz factor, like the fancy, craziness and stuff with all the colorful explosions stuff. That's secondary for me. It's like I mostly just like action movies, and that's part of what attracts me to Captain America as a character, is his capabilities. I like that he's at that sweet spot where he's extremely capable from a physical standpoint, but he's also vulnerable, where it's like if you shoot him, he will die. However, he can run as fast. He can run, 40 miles an hour or whatever, and flip a car if he really wants to. So you get both elements of it.
Should we
and like his power set is what leads to action scenes that I would like to see. Is the opening of Winter Soldier, and I know you haven't seen it.
I know I've seen the first Captain America. I've seen a majority of Civil War. I think I've seen maybe like the first 5 minutes of Winter Soldier.
Okay, did you get to see GSP?
No.
George St. Pierre's in the fucking movie.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, George St. Pierre plays Batroc the Leaper.
Is he good in it?
He's there just to throw punches and kicks, so yeah.
Okay.
Yes. I mean, he's not there for dialogue, although he does speak a little Quebec. He does speak a little Quebecois. Oh man, I saw that movie in the theater with my ex, who happens to be fluent in French, and she was like, "Oh my god, he is so French Canadian." But the opening of Winter Soldier is a combination of a James Bond opening and a Steven Seagal movie.
Oh, okay.
It's pretty fucking glorious because it's basically just an excuse to watch Captain America wreck a whole bunch of people's shit on a ship, on a boat. And the entire scene is basically just to show you this is what Captain America can do against normal people. And it's pretty fucking great. I mean, it would have made me happier, I guess, if he had done Steven Seagal shit, like, break everyone's necks or... Oh, if only there was a bar on the ship and he had to like instigate a conflict in a bar.
Jesus.
Captain America bar fight.
There's a video. I want to send it to you.
If only there was an Eskimo in the bar that needed defending.
I don't know if I've told you about this, but there's an interview that Steven Seagal is having, and this is, after his sex dungeon thing, and he's living in Europe. It's the movie that he did with Michael Jai White. It was shortly after that. I don't remember what it was.
That was Exit Wounds.
Michael Jai White?
Yeah. He's Michael Jai White's... no, wait. Yeah, that was Exit Wounds.
I thought it was late. No, there's a later one I'm thinking of, but...
Oh, maybe they teamed up again, but Exit Wounds was in the late 90s, and Michael Jai White plays the villain.
This was a fairly recent, like a 2015, 2016 Seagal movie.
Oh, shit.
And Michael Jai White might have just been a fight choreographer on the set, but this guy is talking to Seagal, bloated, disgusting, fat Seagal, and he was asked, like, are there other He's asking him like, are there other like martial artists and fighters in Hollywood that you would if you had to get into a fight you would want to back you up? And he's just like, why would I need anybody else? He's like, who do you have in mind? Who could help me beat somebody up? Is what he's asking. And the guy just goes, Michael Jai White. And Steven Seagal goes, can I laugh in your face? Like, I'm like, are you out of your fucking mind? I would put money on Michael Jai White in both of their primes. I would put money on Michael Jai White over Steven Seagal.
You think?
All day, every day.
Yeah, Jesus.
He's a crazy person, but I like that. Oh man.
Wow! Thank you for sharing that.
I'll try to find it.
That.
I'll try to find it and send it to you. So do you want to switch gears? I think from here we could either do a Chris Farley show where we just gush over our favorite movie for whatever reason. Just like, do you remember that part? It was awesome. Yeah. Or we can go through, if you want to, the movies that we disliked in the MCU.
Hey, remember when Jeff Bridges yelled at that one guy and said, "With a box of scraps"?
That was awesome.
That was pretty cool.
That was pretty cool. What do you think?
I mean, we could go wherever we want with this. I know you wanted to point out that there were some small but very impactful cameos in some of these later MCU movies in particular that made you, I'm guessing, giggle like a schoolgirl.
Yeah, one of the other reasons that I liked about Guardians of the Galaxy is Benicio del Toro. Anytime that he pops up, I'm usually kind of excited. I'm like, ooh, Benicio, because
he'll do that. Yeah,
he's funny. He's also really scary. Like if you see him like in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, he's creepy but still kind of funny. But then you see him in Sicario where he's fucking terrifying. Did you see Sicario?
Kyle? Yes.
Okay,
it's on the shelf.
Okay.
Kyle, I need to ask. Maybe you can tell me this. In Sicario,
yes,
when he puts his crotch in that man's face, what is he doing?
What?
I've seen this movie like 3 times now because I really like it. Sicario is a fantastic.
It's fantastic, yeah. I have a buddy of mine. He's seen it like 6 times. Like he's obsessed with it.
In fact, I watched Daredevil season 3 not too long ago, and they owe a lot to Sicario.
I bet.
Even the score sounds a lot like it. But yeah, there's a scene where it's, I think, after they come back from the border town. I forget which part of Mexico it is.
I think it's Juarez.
Juarez.
Yeah.
Juarez.
Yeah.
They retrieve that guy from the garage or whatever.
Yeah.
And then they get across the border. They have that awesome scene at the border crossing. It's tense as all hell.
It's really good.
And then they have a guy in interrogation. And Benicio comes in with a water jug that he places on the floor, and we can assume he's going to waterboard this gentleman. We don't see it. But yeah, he just like pulls his coat back and like stands awkwardly close to this man, crotch first. And I don't know what's happening, but it almost looks like he's trying to show him something, like a scar or something, but I don't know what the fuck is happening. It's
well,
like, are you trying to get him to blow you?
I think
no words are exchanged.
Benicio's character, his family were killed by the cartel.
Yeah.
I'm thinking I've heard that genital mutilation is kind of a part of their torture sequence.
Oh.
I think maybe that might have something to do with it. He might have...
Like I said, it looked like he was trying to show him something.
Or either that or he's got a tattoo that means assassin or something like that. And like, I might not waterboard you here, but I'm going to get you eventually. I don't really know. I don't remember that scene.
I've always been curious about that scene because there's something that's supposed to be communicated there that I just did not get.
I'll text my buddy. I'll ask him about that.
Why did Benicio put his crotch in that man's face?
I'm actually going to text him now while we're talking real quick. I'm like, why did...
What?
Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, Benicio in Guardians and Infinity War he's only there for a couple seconds. I feel like Disney must have got a contract with him or something because he seems to be doing a lot of work for them lately.
Yeah.
But
Star Wars.
I love the Star Wars. I love the stuff he does with his hands as the collector. in the Guardians films.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can tell that he's just having a ball.
Yeah.
He's just coming up with weird shit for weirdness' sake. And the directors are just like, yep,
do it.
Yep, do it. James Gunn's just like, yep, weirder the better. Keep it coming.
I'm trying to think of some other nice cameos besides my favorite, Jeff Goldblum.
Everyone's favorite.
That was so good. Yeah.
Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah. I mean, it's just Jeff Goldblum, like, not even doing a character. It's just Jeff Goldblum talking.
It's just Jeff Goldblum, but, sometimes that's all you want.
I want to see Stanley Tucci do one of these little roles.
Oh, that's a good pick, man. Stanley Tucci is not afraid to collect a paycheck.
No.
So he would not be hard to get, but he's always welcome, though.
Is Sam Rockwell in that second Iron Man movie?
He is. I think he's the best part of that movie.
Is he the bad guy? No, because I know that Mickey Rourke is the quote-unquote bad guy, but is he like the Miguel Ferrer bad guy, like in RoboCop? Is he like,
yeah, actually, Bob Morton? Fuck
yes. He's the suit bad guy.
So, just to get it out of the way, Jeff Goldblum plays a character by the name of the Grandmaster, and Sam Rockwell plays Justin Hammer, who is supposed to be like a rival company to Stark Industries as a arms manufacturer. And yeah, he's the man in the suit. He's the Dick Jones in RoboCop terms.
RoboCop, yeah.
So there's like the Ed 209 that RoboCop there's Clarence Boddicker, who RoboCop has to fight and kill, and who RoboCop has like a personal stake in the fight with. But then there's the guy in the suit who's above that.
Yeah.
And that would be him. And
back in time for cornflakes.
He's having a ball. RoboCop is a delight.
I love Sam Rockwell. I just watched that.
He's fantastic.
He got an Oscar. I'm glad he got an Oscar for 3 Billboards. He's really good in that.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he's really good. I don't know about Oscar worthy, but I'm glad he got an Oscar, because honestly, I think he could have gotten it for The Green Mile, because his character was it was good. Like, he was funny, but he was also terrifying. Do you remember him, Billy the Kid?
No.
Oh, wow.
I've seen The Green Mile, but I can't remember much of it.
Okay.
Other than the stuff coming out of Michael Clark Duncan's mouth.
Yeah, it's pretty memorable.
Did that feel like a replacement Oscar, where sometimes there's instances where the right actor gets the right award for the wrong movie, where it's like Leonardo DiCaprio, for instance, The Revenant. I'm not sure that that's the movie that he should have gotten it for.
No, Tom Hardy should have got Best Supporting, if anything, out of that movie.
But because Wolf of Wall Street, I thought was a more complete performance.
It was, yes, I would agree. I think he should have gotten it for what I hear. He should have gotten it for The Aviator. Apparently, that's supposed to be.
Oh, yeah, it's very good.
I would argue that he should have gotten Best Supporting for What's Eating Gilbert Grape. I think it went to Tommy Lee Jones or somebody else that year, but that's
the thing, is like, people on the internet like to talk about like, oh, so and so should have gotten such and such award that year. It's like, did you look at who they were up against that year? Because a lot of times there's a good reason.
Well, I just watched that the Joaquin Phoenix You Were Never Really Here.
Yeah,
fucking fantastic. It's really good, and I really like his character in there. But he was up against Daniel Day-Lewis. I think Daniel Day-Lewis for There Will Be Blood, and Joaquin had done The Master, which both are really, really good. Definitely should have gone to Daniel Day-Lewis, but that's a tough break, because Joaquin Phoenix's performance in The Master is really good. And Philip Seymour Hoffman, I think, should have gotten an award. The problem with that movie is it was, quote unquote, kind of a Scientology. That's mostly what I know about it. It's very high on my list of movies I'd like to see. It's one of my favorite Philip Seymour Hoffman movies. Him in that role.
No, I've heard it's very good, and it, like, just from a visual standpoint, it looked great. And that's Paul Thomas Anderson also, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Well, anyway, we should probably get back to Marvel.
I was gonna say back to comic books.
Back to shit.
Well, I I want to say, like, it took me a long time to watch Black Panther and Thor Ragnarok, and those are the two most recent that I watched, and I really like both of those movies. They're both really great. I think I'm edging Black Panther a bit more. I think I'm going more on that side. Somebody brought up the point, I think maybe another podcast I listened to, they're like, they were talking about diversity in movies, and like, there hasn't been diversity in movies since Black Panther. Like, that's the most diverse movie. I think Andy Serkis, I was not expecting him to be in there as a real person, like not even mocap.
Yeah.
Like,
other than his arm, yeah, I think he was all there.
He was really good in that movie.
Oh, he was having a ball.
Yeah, I like that untethered criminal, that one that just does not give a fuck.
No, he was having a hell of a time with that role. Like you could tell he was just taking it for a walk.
I think it was a well-rounded movie. My only problem was Michael B. Jordan, who I do like. I just don't like him as a bad guy. Like, he does a good job in that movie as a bad guy, but I just don't like him as a bad guy. He just seems he's too friendly looking. Like, I don't know. I'm just not buying it.
He does kind of have a like friendly babyface quality to him. Yeah. And I've said it before, like he's extremely charismatic, but in that role he has some very heavy lines he has to say.
He does.
That are scripted very well. But his delivery of them sometimes comes across more like petulant than menacing, or like, I don't know, like he's trying to communicate that heavy a message. It just sounds like a whiny kid sometimes.
Yeah, maybe if he would have just really screamed, like really yelled it. Who's the fella from 12 Years a Slave? I can't pronounce his name.
Oh, Chiwetel Ejiofor?
Yeah. He is in that god-awful Four Brothers movie with Mark Wahlbergers. And
oh, he is?
Yeah.
I mean, he's done a lot of shit. He's actually been around a long time. Like,
that movie is terrible. His performance, fantastic. He's awesome.
Doesn't that end in like a fist fight on the ice or something?
Yeah, because it's like Michigan. I think they have. It's like
yeah.
They're in Detroit or something like that. His performance in that movie is really, really good.
He's a good actor.
He's really good. You should watch that one just for.
I actually want to, because I'm trying to remember if that was Antoine Fuqua or John Singleton. John Singleton, I think, is the Boys in the Hood guy, but Antoine Fuqua is like this. I like his movies because he tends to make like crappy genre films. Like, for instance, The Equalizer is his like current franchise.
Okay.
So it's like crappy genre movies, but he's a talented director, so he adds like a layer of class to it that elevates the subject matter. I can't remember who directed Four Brothers. I feel like
it's John Singleton.
Yeah, I know my shit.
He also produced Baby Boy and he wrote Boys in the Hood. He was a writer for Boys in the Hood.
I did say I know my shit, right?
Yeah, you did.
By the way, Chiwetel Ejiofor is in Doctor Strange.
Oh, is he?
So he is an element on the table.
How was he not in Black Panther?
Because he was in Doctor Strange.
Man, he really messed up. He could have. I don't know what role he could have played. What's his face? Our guy from The Predator. Yeah. We like that name. The main funny guy. I can't think of his name.
Are you talking about the guy who played Nebraska?
He's his uncle. He's Black Panther's uncle in that movie.
Oh, shit. Man, I can't remember his name. But, yeah.
Sterling K. Brown. Sterling K. Brown, sorry.
Sterling K. Brown.
Got it.
He should be in everything. Because, yeah, he's delightful. And surprisingly enough, like, I remember when we did The Predator, we were looking at his filmography, and it was, like, pretty shallow except for TV stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, so he's a working actor, but he's not getting the really big roles. It's like, why the fuck not?
I feel really stupid now that I've seen Moonlight, because when we did the Predator movie, I hadn't seen Moonlight, and we're like, who's this really handsome young black guy, Trevante Rhodes? Oh, he's Moonlight. He's in Moonlight.
And he's in the Oscar-winning film from like a year ago.
Yeah. Now when I
We're
realized
bad people, Kyle.
seriously, when I
Bad
realized
people.
who he was, I'm like, oh my gosh, can we just edit that out of that that episode? Because now I feel awful.
Yeah, that's a little humiliating. I
Oh,
didn't know
gosh.
that.
Somebody's just you.
Yeah.
Movie is really good. The acting in it, like, because it goes from when he's a child to when he's a teenager to when he's an adult, and his demeanor, the way he acts in each actor doing that performance, it's really good. Like, it's consistent. It's a really good movie. Obviously, it's a
Naomi
really
Harris
good movie.
is in there, right?
Yeah, she's in there.
Is she
Naomi,
any good?
yeah, she's really good. She plays his
Okay.
mom.
She doesn't always show up to play. But
Oh, she shows up in that movie. I was actually really disappointed because I'm watching the new season of True Detective, which I'm really enjoying. But the guy, he's in Moonlight, and he's the main character in this new season of True Detective. But he's barely in it. I can't pronounce his name.
Mahershala Ali.
Mahershala Ali. Yeah.
He was a big element in that Luke Cage show on the Netflix also.
Oh, really? I like him.
Yeah. Actually, it's kind of hilarious. As soon as he exits the story, the quality of it just
I can see that.
it's like, wow, I just don't care anymore.
I was disappointed he wasn't in Moonlight a little bit more. But yeah, we really got to get back to the comic books.
Whoops.
Talking,